Hello, and welcome to another episode of Turkey Shorts, where I engage in brief and timely conversations about all things Turkish politics with people who can enlighten us. My name is Sinan. Today, we're going to speak about Turkey's difficult and increasingly controversial relationship inside of NATO. In 2019, Ankara acquired the Russian-made S-400 missile defense system that directly threatened NATO's interoperability, triggering US sanctions against its longtime ally. Between 2023, Ankara delayed the expansion of NATO to include Finland and Sweden for months, making their joining conditional on the United States agreeing to sell new fighter jets to Turkey. There are serious question marks about the role Ankara is playing in the Ukraine war and its value add to the collective alliance. Now, President Erdogan has said that Turkey will block all cooperation between NATO and Israel due to Ankara's strong objections to Jerusalem's military actions against Hamas in Gaza. Many in Washington and the NATO alliance are wondering if Turkey is a NATO ally in name only and actually working to undermine its core values and security interests. To help us make sense of all of this, I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Dr. Jorge Benitez. Dr. Benitez and I are actually colleagues here at the Marine Corps University's Command and Staff College's Security Studies Department, where he is an associate professor of national security affairs. Previously, Dr. Benitez served as a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, where he regularly briefs senior US and foreign officials on national security matters. To say that he is an expert on all things NATO is an understatement. He is widely published, and I would encourage you to read his latest article in Foreign Affairs, which was recently published on what NATO would look like under a second Trump presidency. In addition to following Dr. Benitez's scholarly work, you can also follow him on X, where he provides timely insights under his handle @NatoSource. George, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Sidi. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
So let's launch straight in. So the NATO alliance is weathering and having to strategize about a number of strategic challenges. Foremost among them is the threat posed by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. On the other hand, it arguably faces greater threats, according to some, from existing members inside the alliance like Hungary and Turkey, which are accused of actively working to undermine the alliance's core values and security interests. Do you agree with this assessment?
This is a very important question because due to the nature of the alliance, existing members have significant power and can do considerable harm to the alliance because all NATO decisions have to be unanimous. That means that members such as Turkey and Hungary can veto any and all NATO decisions if they choose to challenge or obstruct the will of the majority of NATO members. And as you know, in the history of Turkey, Turkey is one of the members that has done that most frequently.
Yeah, they seem to have figured out a trick for, exacting national policy goals by holding the alliance, according to some, hostage and not budging and holding up alliance business, if not actual security interests, if they don't get what they want. And we've seen this with Turkey and increasingly so with Hungary too. Yeah, interesting. So is it fair to argue that NATO was designed from a position of conception to thwart the threat posed by the Soviet Union, and really does not have the organizational means to address the problem of what to do with existing members, which are perceived to be undermining, let's say, the collective security interests of the alliance? We saw this with recent expansion to include Finland and Sweden, which was, as we said in the opening, was delayed by Turkey for months. What can be done about this?
You've identified one of the structural vulnerabilities of the alliance. The answer is officially nothing can be done. The NATO treaty has membership requirements to join the alliance, but no language or mechanism to expel a member. Other international organizations, such as the United Nations and the EU, have the power to expel, but NATO does not. Unofficially, though, a lot can be done to members that challenge the majority of the alliance. In previous cases of NATO members losing their democracy to NATO to military coups, NATO members stop sharing intelligence and other material with the members in question, and sometimes stop inviting their representatives to some NATO meetings. Bilaterally, even more has been done to punish disagreeable allies. A major example of this is the US Congress banning the sale of US military equipment to Turkey in the past.
No doubt. Yeah, you're right. It's increasingly becoming a big vexing sort of, issue for the alliance leadership. We'll see where that goes. But last question for today. Turkey has now stated that it will block all NATO cooperation with Israel. In practice, what does this mean? And what, in your opinion, do you think, what kind of problems will this cause NATO and the West, specifically within the region, but also, if you want, wider in terms of one member blocking cooperation with close partners of NATO?
As I mentioned earlier, each NATO member has considerable power because they can veto all NATO decisions. In the case of Turkey and Israel, this happened not too many years ago when Turkey got into a disagreement with Israel and vetoed any NATO cooperation with Israel as a partner. But Turkey went even further and banned all NATO cooperations with all partners, which hurt countries such as Sweden, Finland, and Switzerland, which have valuable partnerships cooperation with NATO. This went on for several months, and eventually the rest of the alliance convinced Turkey to remove the universal veto, and even later, the veto over cooperation with Israel. But right now, Turkey does have and can do either option: veto all NATO cooperation with Israel or veto all NATO cooperation with all NATO members. This would not prevent NATO members like the US or the UK from providing bilateral assistance to Israel.
Well, this is the substance of a wider and longer discussion, Dr. Benitez. And the point of all this is to basically entice people with a timely discussion, particularly with a view to seeing possibly widened conflict within the Middle East. We shall have to see what happens. But for now, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. And we hope to host you in a discussion in the not too distant future. Thank you.
Thank you for this time. Thank you for your excellent questions. As you can see, there's much history and research that can be done into how Turkey has challenged and disagreed with NATO before as a member, and how the alliance has responded to it officially and unofficially. Good luck.
Thank you.